The human who fed alien children, unaware their mother commanded the stars. Night cycle over mare tranquillitatis. The outpost sleeps. Freight rails hum far away. A thin neon sign buzzes over a tiny canteen called the Rusted Spoon. Inside, one man works. Jonah Reed wipes a cracked counter. He checks the oven heat with the back of his hand. He looks up at the skylight. Earth hangs there like a blue coin in black velvet. It looks close. It is not. The canteen is quiet. Too quiet. Business has been dying for months. Cargo routes move to the far side. The new Pan-Galactic Forum steals every crowd, every credit, every rumor. The Rusted Spoon gets scraps. A tired miner. A homesick tech. Some days, no one. Jonah keeps cooking anyway. Habit. Hope. Stubborn pride. He tells himself, tomorrow will be better. He does not believe it, not really. The door sensor clicks. Jonah looks up. His hand freezes on the towel. For small figures stand in the doorway. Not human. Their skin is blue-white, smooth like glass, with soft light moving under it. Their eyes are silver and strange. No pupils. Their necks have fine gill lines that flutter as they breathe. They wear gray travel suits. All the same. Standard. Issued. Not chosen. They hold themselves like they are ready to run. The tallest one steps forward. A thin pendant at her throat wakes with a soft chirp. Her voice comes out in clean, flat English. We possess credits. We require safe food. Jonah lets out the breath he was holding. He keeps his voice calm. You're welcome here. Take any booth you like. He lifts both hands so they can see he means no harm. What can I make for you? The children trade a fast look. No words. Just a pattern of blinks and tiny head moves. Then the pendant speaks again. We are unfamiliar with human cuisine. Protein and carbohydrates are required. No toxic elements. Right? Jonah says. He reaches for the counter tablet. He opens the cross-species food guide. He searches Erythraean, the species name he remembers from news feeds. The screen shows a simple list. No dairy. No nightshades. High hydration. Clean oils. I can do chicken and rice. Steamed greens. Herbs okay. No peppers. No cream. The tallest nods once. Acceptable. They slide into the back booth. They sit straight, like they are in a class. Their eyes move. Walls. Skylight. Old jukebox with a cracked chrome face. They take in everything and touch nothing. Jonah washes his hands again. He works fast. Pan hot. Oil thin. Chicken sliced. A soft sizzle. Rice steams. Greens whisper in the basket. He salts by feel. He adds thyme, lemon, a hint of garlic. He keeps the flavors bright and simple. He thinks of children. He thinks of trust. He thinks of the empty bank line on his ledger. Plates go out hot. Steam rises in little clouds. Careful, he says. It's fresh. The tallest child tries one bite of chicken. She stops. A tiny trill leaves her throat. The pendant does not translate it. Her silver eyes widen. Then she takes a second bite, bigger this time. Is it okay? Jonah asks. Pleasant, the pendant says after a search, as if the word is new to it. Texture and warmth are in harmony. The other three eat. At first small bites. Then faster. Jonah watches the speed change and feels something open in his chest. Relief. Maybe joy. He leans on the counter near their booth. I'm Jonah, he says. Jonah Reed. Welcome to the spoon. The tallest taps her pendant. Era. She points gently. Marin. Tash. Kren. The smallest, Kren, keeps glancing at the jukebox like it might be a wild animal. What brings you this far from the forum? Jonah asks. He keeps it light. Casual. Curious, not prying. Exploration during recreation window. The pendant says. Our caretaker is occupied. Big meetings, Jonah says. I've heard. Silence. The children finish the plates. They sit with hands folded, formal again. Era places a credit chit on the table. Payment. Jonah runs the charge. It is exact. He adds a small fruit bowl anyway. Sliced apples with honey and a squeeze of lemon. He checked the guide. Safe. Dessert, he says. On the house. Kren makes a tiny chirp. That needs no translation. When they are done, the booth is spotless. The credit chit is gone. Era stands. Your food has quality, the pendant says. We may return. I'd like that, Jonah says. He means it. They leave as quietly as they came. The door seals. The room is a little colder without them. Jonah walks to the window. He watches four blue shapes move toward the nearest transit tube. They keep close. They move with purpose. They do not look back. He feels a question form and settle in his mind. Who are they? Where are the adults? Why here? Why now? The oven hums. The neon buzzes. Earth turns slow and bright above the glass. Jonah picks up the towel again. He wipes the counter he has already wiped. He tells himself it was only a strange night. He is wrong. On the prep table, next to the tablet, lies the fruit bowl he meant to eat later. He looks at it. He pushes it aside. He opens a new page in the cross-species guide. He starts a list: safe vegetables, safe grains, oils they like, sweets that won't harm. He writes in big letters at the top, make enough for 5. He pauses, adds another word, tomorrow. The next day, on the moon, doesn't really bring sunrise. Only a slow shift from dark silver to pale gray through the dome's glass. Jonah wakes early anyway. His mind still loops back to the night before, 4 alien kids, polite but nervous, eating his food like it was something holy. He keeps wondering, why his canteen? Where were their parents? And mostly, will they come back? He preps extra plates. More rice. More greens. 2 trays of fruit. He tells himself it's just in case. At 11:04, the door sensor chimes. Jonah almost drops the ladle. They're back. Ara leads again, graceful but alert. Behind her, Marin, Tash, and little Kren. But now there's a 5th child. Smaller. Paler. Clutching a data pad like a shield. Jonah's grin comes without effort. You found me again. Ara's pendant hums. The sustenance was favorable. We have returned. This is Fel. They wish to experience it. Welcome, Fel. Jonah gestures at the booth. Same seats. They sit. Already more relaxed than yesterday. Kren even hops once before climbing up, like a human kid might. Their patterns ripple faintly, soft blue waves under their skin. Jonah slides over water flasks. You want the same as last time, or try something new? They blink in sequence again, Quicksilver Morse code. New. Ara says finally. We will sample new human cuisine. Jonah grins. You're brave. Okay, grilled sandwiches, vegetable soup. No dairy, no tomatoes. Got it. While he cooks, he hears them whispering in their musical language. Not through the translator. Actual alien chatter, full of trills and soft consonants. It sounds like wind and bells. It's oddly comforting. When he serves the food, Kren claps. An actual clap. Learned from watching him maybe. They taste the soup. The reaction is instant. Ripples of bright light spread under their skin. Their equivalent of smiling, Jonah guesses. You approve, he says, hiding his own smile. Warmth is satisfying, Marin answers through the pendant. Bread crunch is ideal. Jonah leans on the counter, arms folded. So tell me, what do you do for fun besides exploring dusty diners? Ara tilts her head. Our caretaker restricts recreation. We learn, observe, and record. This is our first unsupervised exploration. That makes Jonah pause. So wait, you're sneaking out. The smallest, Kren, lets out a nervous chirp. Marin presses a hand over his mouth fin gently. Ara's pendant blinks amber. We prefer the term independent field study. Jonah chuckles. Fair enough. Just stay safe. Lunar security doesn't like surprises. They nod solemnly, as if promising a pact. The hours slip by. Jonah teaches them how to use the old jukebox. He plays an Earth song, a slow acoustic tune from before lunar colonization. Strings and soft words fill the air. The children freeze, wide-eyed. What is this vibration? The pendant asks. Music, Jonah says. It's how we feel out loud. Ara's silver eyes reflect the rotating lights. You share emotion with sound? Yeah, Jonah says quietly. Sometimes it's the only way that makes sense. When the track ends, the silence feels sacred. They ask to hear it again. That night, they leave another credit chip, slightly more than required, and tiny folded paper stars made from napkins. Jonah finds them after they're gone. He keeps them on the counter beside the register. The next day, they return again. And the next. And the next. Each visit adds new layers of comfort. The kids experiment. Noodles, fish, spiced grains, fruit tarts. They start laughing, softly, without the translator. Jonah learns that Ara's pendant sometimes glitches when she laughs too hard. Marin asks questions about flavor molecules. Fel doodles Earth's moon on napkins, filling the white with silver lines. Jonah begins looking forward to that familiar door chime more than anything else. The canteen, once hollow, fills with life again. He even forgets to check the clock. But as the fourth week starts, Jonah notices something different. The children arrive later, tired, glancing over shoulders. Their light patterns pulse faster. Stress, he guesses. When he asks if they're okay, Era only says, "Our caretaker's attention is increasing." Marin adds, "We may not be permitted to return soon." Jonah frowns. "Because of me?" "No," Era answers quickly. "Because of what we bring back." "What you bring back?" She glances at the takeout containers stacked beside her. Others rely on this food now. The meaning hits Jonah like low-gravity shock. Others? How many? Era doesn't answer. But Marin whispers, "Many." They finish eating in silence. Before leaving, Era looks up at him. Her silver eyes catch the diner lights like mirrors. "We thank you, Jonah Reed. What you cook is more than food." When the door closes behind them, Jonah stands still for a long time. The kitchen smells like herbs and steam. The neon sign buzzes outside. He whispers to himself, "More than food, huh?" He doesn't know yet how true that is. 2 lunar days passed. Jonah hadn't seen the kids again. The canteen felt hollow, like sound died in midair. He kept cooking anyway. Same recipes, same clean pans, as if the act alone might summon them back. On the third morning, the door chime broke the silence. Jonah turned too fast, nearly knocking over a saucepan. They were back, all 5, but this time, they weren't alone. Standing behind them was a uniformed human. Gray jacket, lunar security patch, cold eyes that scanned the place like a scanner sweep. Jonah's stomach sank. "Mr. Reed?" she asked. Her badge flashed, Officer Mara Lynn. "That's me," he said, trying to sound calm. "I've received reports of unauthorized interactions between off-world miners and local civilians." Her tone was sharp, but not cruel. "These children belong to a restricted delegation. Do you know that?" Jonah's mouth went dry. "They're just customers, officer. Hungry kids. I feed anyone who walks through that door." Mara's eyes flicked to the booth where the children had frozen. "They're miners from the Erythrean diplomatic section. They're not supposed to be beyond Zone 7 without escort. You're in Zone 3. Jonah rubbed the back of his neck. "They pay. They behave. They like sandwiches. I didn't think feeding them was a crime." Mara sighed. "It's not a crime, Mr. Reed. It's complicated. Their guardians need to know where they are. Galactic treaties. Protocol." The tallest child, Era, rose from the booth. Her translator pendant blinked green. "We did not intend violation. We sought sustenance and safety." Mara hesitated, clearly not expecting the alien to speak fluent English. "Your caretakers will be notified. You'll return with me." "Wait," Jonah interrupted. "You're just going to drag them off like they did something wrong? Look at them. They're terrified." "They are not human children," Mara said flatly. Jonah's voice rose. "They're children, period." A tense silence. The officer glanced at Era again. "You will accompany me now." Era's patterns darkened, a visual equivalent of fear. "If we are discovered," her pendant said softly, "others will lose access to food." Mara frowned. "Others?" Jonah stepped forward. "Listen, give me 1 day. If there's paperwork, I'll fill it. You can supervise if you want. But don't punish them for being hungry." The officer studied him for a long moment. "1 day? You register your diner as an approved interaction site, or I file the report." "Understand. Deal," Jonah said quickly. She turned toward the door. "Enjoy your meal, kids. It might be your last outside the forum." When she left, the canteen air seemed to breathe again. The kids stayed still. Jonah exhaled and leaned on the counter. "You okay?" Era's silver eyes shimmered. "You intervened." "What?" Jonah shrugged. "Because someone should." The translator hummed. "Humans often do that." "Not always," Jonah said. "But the good ones try." The children ate quietly. When they finished, they stood in front of him as if about to confess. Era placed a small device, like a crystal coin, on the counter. It glowed faint blue. "Compensation," she said. "For risk." Jonah frowned. "No need." The crystal blinked. His tablet pinged. "Transaction received. 82,000 lunar credits." Jonah nearly dropped it. That was half a year's profit. "What is this? You can't just." Era's pendant spoke, calm but firm. "Your establishment must remain operational. Its collapse would end our support network." "Support network?" Jonah echoed. "The others," Marin said quietly. "Those below. They depend on this food now." Jonah stared. "How many others are we talking about?" 42, Fell whispered. He blinked. 42? 42 kids. Era nodded. Lower-tier dependents. Unnoticed. Unfed. The words hit harder than gravity. Jonah grabbed the counter for balance. You're feeding 42 hidden children with my leftovers. Not leftovers, Tash corrected softly. Hope. For the first time, Jonah had no reply. Era met his eyes. Tomorrow, you will understand. She turned, leading the group toward the exit. They moved with silent precision, vanishing once again into the lunar night. Jonah stood alone in the humming canteen, the blue glow of the payment crystal still pulsing faintly beside him. He looked up at Earth, a blue marble floating through the window, and muttered, 42 hidden kids on the moon. What the hell did I just walk into? He didn't know it yet, but by morning, his little diner would stop being just a business. It would become a lifeline. Jonah couldn't sleep that night. The number 42 kept bouncing around in his head like loose change. 42 children, unregistered, unseen, living somewhere beneath the polished towers of Lunar City. He had imagined a lot of strange things since humanity joined the Galactic Forum, but a hidden alien orphanage wasn't one of them. When dawn shimmered pale across the lunar dome, he packed up supplies from the rusted spoon. Rice, chicken, steamed greens, fruits, and extra flasks of water. He locked the door behind him and stepped into the cold metallic corridors of the outpost. Era had told him, tomorrow, you will understand. So he followed her coordinates. They met him outside the transport hub, 5 small figures waiting beside a cargo tunnel no tourist ever used. The air was quiet here, the hum of mag rails distant. Era didn't waste words. Follow closely, her pendant said. And do not speak. Jonah followed. The tunnel descended steeply, metal turning to rock. The walls dripped condensation from temperature control pipes. Era pressed her hand to a blank section of wall. A soft pulse of light ran across her skin, and the wall opened. Not slid. Peeled, as if reality itself had been folded away. Behind it lay a space Jonah could hardly believe. Rows of makeshift beds lined the walls, thin mats, stacked crates, salvaged heaters. The air smelled faintly of minerals and cleaning solvent. And there were children. So many of them. Tiny blue bodies wrapped in gray blankets. Some sleeping, some staring with wide silver eyes at the strange human now standing in their secret home. Jonah froze. Dear God. Era's voice came softly. Welcome to the lower quarter. These are the forgotten. An older child stepped forward, taller than the rest, posture firm. I am Varis, his pendant said. Caretaker of this group. You are the human provider. Jonah nodded, still stunned. Jonah Reed. I run a diner topside. You have our gratitude, Varis said formally. Your meals have increased survival probability by 27%. Jonah's eyes darted around the cramped shelter. Why isn't anyone helping you? The forum has entire supply fleets. Supply fleets serve ranking delegates, Varis replied. We are dependents of maintenance and support workers. The allocation tiers are strict, so the upper class gets real food, and the rest get nutrient paste? Jonah asked. That is correct. Jonah shook his head slowly. That's insane. They're kids. Era looked down. Our caretaker ignores this place. My siblings and I decided to act. She led him deeper. The walls glowed faint blue from small biolamps. Children whispered as he passed. They weren't afraid, just curious. One tiny boy reached out and brushed Jonah's hand with cool fingers before darting away giggling. He knelt beside a storage crate. Inside were packs of gray ration cubes. He broke one open. The smell was sterile, metallic. You've been living on this? It sustains. It does not heal, Varis said. Since your meals began, sickness has decreased. Growth improved. Jonah's throat tightened. No wonder they risked sneaking through security. He opened his cargo case and began laying out the food he brought. Real food. Warm, fragrant, alive. Steam filled the cold space. Within seconds, the entire shelter stirred. The air buzzed with low, musical chatter. The kids lined up in quiet, perfect rows, disciplined, but trembling with excitement. Jonah watched them eat, unable to look away. No one fought over portions. The older ones helped the smaller ones. Every bite looked like a small miracle. When they finished, Jonah turned to Varis. I'll bring more. Every day? Enough for everyone. Varis blinked, processing. That is not sustainable for one human. Jonah smiled faintly. Then I'll figure it out. I've got an oven and 2 hands. That's enough for now. Era's light patterns pulsed softly. Gratitude, maybe awe. Why would you help us, Jonah Reed? He shrugged. Because you need it. Because someone should have a soul out here. Varys lowered his head slightly, a gesture of deep respect in Erythrian custom. Then you are part of our circle now. Jonah looked around the dim shelter. 42 pairs of silver eyes watching him, glowing faintly like stars in the dark. Something inside him settled. For the first time in years, he felt purpose. I'll be back tomorrow, he said, packing the empty containers. And next time, I'm bringing dessert. Era tilted her head. Dessert. Jonah grinned. Sweet food. You'll see. As he climbed the long corridor back toward the surface, the thought of the hungry children below the city stayed with him. He had gone down there just to cook. But as the hidden door sealed behind him with a faint hum, he realized something had changed. He wasn't just feeding strangers anymore. He was part of their survival. And somewhere deep inside Lunar City's shining walls, 42 alien children finally slept with full stomachs. Jonah's life became a rhythm. Wake before the artificial dawn. Cook 3 vats of food. Load the insulated crates onto his old delivery cart. Descend into the tunnels. Feed 42 blue-skinned children who now called him Mr. Jonah. Then return to the rusted spoon and pretend nothing extraordinary was happening. Every day, the same. Until the day everything fell apart. It began with a sound Jonah had never heard in the lower tunnels. A shrill metallic wail that bounced off the walls like knives scraping steel. The kids froze mid-bite. Era's patterns dimmed to gray. Security sweep, her pendant said in a trembling voice. Security sweep? Jonah repeated. Why now? Periodic inspection, said Varys, already moving. But the forum's search radius expanded. They will find this place. Jonah's chest tightened. And if they do? Confiscation. Relocation. Discipline. He didn't ask what discipline meant. The word carried enough weight to crush him. Era darted forward. We must leave. Immediately. How many? Jonah asked. All of us, Varys said. 42. Then we move. He ran toward his cart. The small electric motor hummed to life. Get the youngest in first, he shouted. Strap them with the belts. The older kids began organizing with perfect precision. Groups of 5 forming lines, grabbing small bags of belongings, moving like a tiny army trained for survival. Jonah realized they had done this before. As the first group loaded up, a faint tremor shook the floor. He could hear the dull clang of boots somewhere in the upper access shaft. The sweep was coming fast. Where do we go? Jonah asked. Varys hesitated. We have backup sanctuaries, but none safe during inspection. Jonah's mind raced. He needed a location close enough to reach without scanners picking them up. Then it hit him. My diner, he said. We'll hide in the spoon. Era blinked. Your canteen is small. It's bigger than a holding cell, Jonah snapped. Move. They surged into motion. Jonah drove the cart through the maintenance tunnels, the kids jogging behind in organized pairs. The sirens blared again, closer this time, echoing like thunder through the metal veins of Lunar City. They burst out of a side hatch into the service corridor behind the rusted spoon. Jonah's heart hammered as he keyed in the access code. The door slid open. Inside, they spilled into the kitchen, a blur of blue skin, gray uniforms, and wide eyes. Jonah sealed the door and hit the security shutter. The outside world vanished behind a wall of steel. For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was 42 hearts beating. Then Era whispered, You risk your livelihood for us again. Jonah managed a breathless grin. I told you I was part of the circle, didn't I? Varys stepped closer. We must stay hidden until the sweep passes. How long? 6 lunar hours. Jonah looked around. Then we make the best of it. He turned to the kids. Everyone hungry. They blinked at him, confused by the absurd question. Good, he said, already pulling out flour, honey, and fruit. Because if we're hiding, we might as well eat like kings. He cooked nonstop for the next hour. Pancakes, flatbreads, bowls of sweet porridge laced with safe fruit. The smell filled the canteen. The fear eased. Kren started humming softly, the same tune Jonah had played for them on the jukebox weeks ago. When the sirens finally faded, the children were laughing again. Era leaned against the counter, silver eyes glowing. You defy fear with flavor. Jonah smiled faintly. Food's how humans fight the dark. We cook. We share. That's what keeps us alive. But deep inside, he knew the danger wasn't over. If the sweep had expanded once, it could again. And the tunnels below were no longer safe. As Varys helped the youngest pack up leftover bread, Jonah made a decision. We're moving them somewhere better, he said quietly. Somewhere permanent. Aira looked up. Where? Jonah gazed at the rusted spoon's empty dining room, sunlight creeping through the skylight. I'll find a place, he said, even if I have to build it. He didn't know yet how, or where, or what it would cost. But one thing was certain, hiding them once was luck. Saving them forever would take everything he had. And before the next lunar night was over, Jonah Reed's quiet diner would become the center of the greatest secret on the moon. 3 days after the evacuation, Jonah's diner looked less like a restaurant and more like a refugee camp. The front counter was spotless, but behind the swing door, every inch of the kitchen hid signs of secret life. Sleep mats rolled against the wall, stacked food crates labeled in 2 languages, a whiteboard covered in handwritten supply calculations. He hadn't stopped working. His arms ached from cooking. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. But every time a child smiled or hummed that broken jukebox song, it felt worth it. That morning, the door alarm chimed again. Jonah expected one of the kids. Maybe Aira. Instead, the air shifted. It was a feeling, not a sound. The weight of presence before it made sense. 2 tall figures stepped inside. Erythrean guards. Chrome armor. Their mirrored eyes scanned the diner with military stillness. Behind them came a third figure, taller still, wrapped in a long coat of shimmering fabric that changed color with every step. Her skin glowed faintly, like polished crystal under sunlight. Her expression could have carved stone. Jonah froze. Every instinct told him to run. Aira burst through the back door a heartbeat later, out of breath. Her voice shook. Jonah, she is my mother. The tall woman's gaze flicked to her daughter, then back to Jonah. Her translator didn't hum. It sang, soft and precise. You are the human called Jonah Reed, she said. And you have been feeding my children. Jonah swallowed hard. They were hungry. The woman took a step forward. You risked severe punishment. You interfered with Erythrean hierarchy and galactic regulations. Jonah's voice cracked, but he didn't back down. Then your hierarchy is broken. No child should live underground eating cold bricks. The guard stiffened. One raised a weapon, but the woman raised a hand. The room fell silent. What did you just say, human? You heard me, Jonah said, forcing the words out. Kids, your kids, were hiding in a drainage sector, starving. You didn't notice. And the others, those 42, if I hadn't stepped in, they'd still be dying quietly. You don't need hierarchy. You need humanity. The silence after that could have frozen air. The woman studied him like a scientist examining a strange new species. Then, unexpectedly, she asked, Do you know who I am? Not really, Jonah admitted. But you look like someone who can fix this. Her expression didn't change, but her tone softened by a fraction. I am High Matriarch Lysara, sovereign of the Erythrean Concord and lead negotiator of the Galactic Forum. Jonah blinked. So, you're basically the president of half the galaxy. An approximate term. Great. Then start acting like one. The guards moved again, but Lysara held them back with a gesture. Her eyes stayed locked on Jonah. For the first time, her patterns flickered, not with anger, but confusion. You speak to me as though we are equals. Right now, we are, Jonah said quietly. I'm the man who saved your kids. Aira stepped forward, trembling. Mother, Jonah helped everyone. He gave food and safety. He didn't care who we were. He only cared that we were hungry. Lysara looked down at her daughter as if truly seeing her for the first time. You risked exposure, Aira. Do you understand what that means? I do, Aira said. But I also understand what hunger feels like. Jonah stayed silent. He didn't need to add anything. The truth was standing right beside her. Lysara turned back to him. Your actions have caused political disruption. The lower-tier dependents were not meant to be revealed. Jonah's anger flared. So hiding kids in tunnels is policy now. Her gaze was cold. It is tradition. He leaned forward. Then your tradition's broken. Maybe that's why your daughter came to me. Another long silence. Then, shockingly, Lysara reached for one of the metal trays cooling on the counter. A fruit pastry, still warm. She took a delicate bite. For a brief moment, the unstoppable ruler of an alien empire just ate. Her silver eyes widened slightly. This is extraordinary. It's just food, Jonah said. No, she whispered. It is alive. Era smiled faintly. I told you, Mother. Lysara's gaze lifted to him again. This time, there was something new behind it. Not pride. Not superiority. Curiosity. You will come with me, she said. Jonah blinked. To where? The forum, Lysara said. You will explain to them why you did what you did. Why a human would risk punishment for children not his own. Jonah stared at her, half in disbelief, half in dread. I'm a cook, not a politician. That, Lysara said with quiet certainty, is exactly why they will listen. The guard stepped aside, making a path. Era touched Jonah's sleeve gently. It will be all right, she whispered. Jonah wasn't so sure. But when he looked at those small silver eyes, the same ones that had first walked into his diner weeks ago, he knew he couldn't back down now. He took a deep breath and nodded. Fine. Lead the way. As he followed the matriarch out into the corridor, the polished lunar lights reflected off her crystal gown and his simple work apron. Two different worlds walking side by side toward a storm. He didn't know it yet, but that day, in front of the Galactic Forum, one ordinary human would speak the words that would change humanity's place in the stars forever. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Forum wasn't made for humans. Its walls shimmered with light that wasn't light, and its floor seemed to breathe beneath the weight of thousands of beings from 100 worlds. The air pulsed with alien energy, sound, scent, and language layered in ways no human ear could truly separate. Jonah Reed stood alone in the center of it all, still wearing his worn-out apron. The guards had led him through the crowd to a circular dais surrounded by tiered rows of alien delegates, serpentine forms, crystalline entities, feathered diplomats with living tattoos. And high above them all sat matriarch Lysara, glowing like a living constellation. Jonah's heart slammed in his chest. He was a cook. He had never even spoken at a staff meeting back on Earth. Now he was standing before the most powerful beings in known space. A mechanical voice echoed through the hall. Human Representative Jonah Reed. You are permitted to speak. Jonah looked up at the endless rows of faces, scales, and shimmering eyes. He thought of the tunnels, the kids, the sound of laughter echoing through metal corridors, the smell of warm food in cold air. He took a breath. I'm not here as a diplomat, he said, voice shaking slightly. I'm not here as a leader or a hero. I'm here because I fed hungry children. The chamber fell quiet. Maybe that sounds small to you, Jonah continued. But for those kids, it was the difference between living and fading away in the dark. I didn't feed them because they were Erythrian or because I wanted credit. I did it because they were children, and children shouldn't have to earn kindness. A wave of flickering lights moved through the chamber. Alien murmurs, colors shifting in communication. Jonah kept going. You call yourselves advanced civilizations, but your rules still let little ones starve just because they were born in the wrong tier. You built cities that touch the stars, but you forgot what it means to care. Lysara's eyes flickered, unreadable. Jonah pointed upward. On Earth, we're new to all this. The diplomacy, the technology, the alliances. But if humanity has one thing worth offering this galaxy, it's heart. We look at someone in need, and we do something. No matter the species. No matter the rank. We cook. We share. We care. That's our power. Silence again. Then a soft pulse of blue spread across the chamber walls. The Erythrian signal for attention granted. Jonah met Lysara's gaze. You asked why I risked everything for children that weren't mine. The truth is simple, because no one else did. For a moment, the matriarch didn't move. Then she rose. The crystal folds of her robe caught the light like a rising dawn. Representatives of the forum, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly. This human has reminded us of something we lost. Gasps and flutters rippled through the crowd. Lysara continued. His actions prove that compassion is not weakness, but strength. I propose immediate recognition of humanity as a full and equal member of the Galactic Forum. And further, that the Erythrian Concord will form a joint initiative with human delegates to ensure no child, of any species or rank, goes hungry again. Chaos erupted, a storm of light and sound. Some delegates protested. Others applauded in their own strange ways. Wing beats, color bursts, melodic hums. Amid it all, Jonah stood frozen, not quite sure if he'd just witnessed salvation or madness. Then Era appeared beside him, beaming. You spoke well, Jonah Reed. He managed a shaky grin. Did I? I just told the truth. Truth, she said softly, is the most dangerous language in the galaxy. 6 lunar months later, the Rusted Spoon was no longer a lonely diner on the moon. It had become the headquarters for the Galactic Child Initiative, co-founded by the Erythrian Concord and the United Earth Assembly. The little canteen buzzed with voices, humans and aliens working side by side. Recipes translated across species. New foods born daily. Aira and her siblings often visited. Sometimes Lasara did too, shedding her royal armor for a plain silver cloak. She would sit quietly in the corner, watching Jonah cook, her eyes softer now. One evening, she approached the counter as Jonah was plating fruit pastries. The forum approved expansion, she said. 17 systems will begin adopting the initiative. Jonah blinked. 17? You're spreading kindness faster than hyperlanes. Lasara's patterns shimmered in amusement. You underestimate the hunger for hope. She paused, then set a small crystalline emblem on the counter, the seal of the forum. You are now recognized as the first human ambassador of empathy. Jonah laughed. That's not a real title. It is now, she replied simply. Outside the diner window, Earth hung like a glowing marble against the black. Jonah stared at it for a long moment. Funny, he said quietly. All this started because some kids wanted lunch. Lasara nodded. Sometimes the universe changes over a meal. Jonah smiled, wiping his hands on his apron. Then let's keep serving. He turned back to the oven, where fresh pastries were browning to golden perfection. In the reflection of the glass, the stars looked almost close enough to touch. And somewhere out there, 42 children slept with full stomachs, dreaming of a galaxy that finally cared. And it had all begun with one human cook, one act of kindness, and one small diner on the moon.